everyone, welcome to another video on the Osheen Creations YouTube channel. Thank you for being here. I am Osheen Wright. I develop creative methods, books, and strategies that teach people to overcome challenges that hinder the building of an effective relationship with Jesus Christ. I carry out this mission by focusing on 4 divisions: the Word of God, prayer, relationship with God documentation, and paying for purpose. Today, we will be talking about prayer boards, what they are, and steps to create one if you are interested in creating one. So, there are many videos out there on YouTube and posts on Instagram about prayer boards. So, there are multiple ways a prayer board can be created and multiple ways a prayer board can be made to look. This is just my version, my example of a prayer board as it relates to my life, right? So a prayer board is basically a board or a system created, and that system you put it on the board and you create it with the aim of using it to help you to be consistent in prayer and to help you to be focused in prayer and also strategic in prayer. So it's basically a board. As you can see here, I have a board in my hand, and it can be any type of board: a cardboard, an old calendar, a paper. Just make sure that the paper is thick enough, thick enough to stand up to certain things, right? So you wouldn't want to use the thin, flimsy kind of typing sheet papers, right? Unless you glue them onto something that's thick, right? You want something that can stand up, right? So yes, so you get a board. A prayer board is basically a board like this, and I gave you examples of boards a while ago that can be utilized. Any board that you have, cardboard boxes, once the paper is thick, you can use it. Cardboard boxes, old calendars, etc., 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 right? So it's a board on which you place your focuses, what you want to focus in prayer for a particular period, whether it's a month, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month. I said 1 month already, right? 1 year, a season, or your whole life, right? So you put the focuses that you want to focus on in prayer on the board, right? And you can also have a section on the board for prayer resources. Now, I developed this because I use a lot of prayer methods in prayer and also pre-written prayers in prayer as well. So I would put those here. The general ones I would put here, right? And so I put those on the board. And so after I put these on the board now, the intention is for me to use the board in my prayer life regularly. So when I look at the board, when I see the board and I see the prayer focuses, it's supposed to remind me to pray about those prayer focuses, right? And also, when I pray about those prayer focuses, I can write the prayers and put them in the pockets. So if I write a prayer that has to do with this focus of I need to reach the stage of tolerance, I can put that prayer in the pocket, right? And the same goes for the other focuses. And also, if while I am praying about this using my prayer board, I experience situations where I realize that God has really grown my tolerance or God has really built me, I can write those situations down and put them here, because those would be reminders that God is actually answering my prayers, right? So this is a system designed to remind you to pray about certain focuses, and not just that, but it helps with consistency. It helps you to focus because of the fact that you can see the focuses, and it also helps you to keep a record of answered prayers, right? So this is one way to do a prayer board. You can put your focuses on the board, or you can put the prayers that you want to focus on the board. So this is another way, right? So say for instance, in my prayer life, I have, by the grace of God, been able to write some prayers based on certain things that has been happening in my life, and I want to focus on praying those prayers regularly. I could construct a prayer board that is dedicated to those prayers, like for example what I did here. These 4 prayers are very important in my life, and so that's why I dedicated this section of the prayer board to them. This is another way of doing a prayer board, which has the focuses, right? So yes. And so I'm just showing you 2 examples of the way prayer boards can be made. There are other persons on social media that has scriptures on their prayer board and so on and so forth. So basically you can create a prayer board in any way that you are led, any way that's best for you and your relationship with God and your prayer life, right? So it's very versatile. It's something that you can be very, very creative with. So moving on now, if you would love to create a prayer board, what are the steps that you need to take in order to do so? Now, step 1, the first step to take if you want to create a prayer board for yourself for whatever period that you want it for, whether you want it for 2025 or for a season that you're in, or for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, etc., or for your entire life. The first step in creating a prayer board is to think of your focuses. What do you want to focus on in prayer for that specific period? Now, for me, this is an example. So this prayer board features 4 focuses. Focus number 1 is I need to reach the stage of tolerance. Focus number 2 is I need to trust God and let Him build me. Focus number 3 is I need to see God on a different level. And focus number 4 is I need well-controlled emotions. Now, I came up with these focuses based on how my relationship with God and my prayer life has been going on so far, right? These focuses come from revelations that the Lord has given me, things that the Lord has allowed persons to say to me, and also experiences that I have been having in my life for a while. Those things have worked together to make me realize that these 4 focuses right here are very important for me to be persistently focusing on in prayer right now and even for the rest of my life. And so that's why I place these 4 focuses on my prayer board. So you can find your focuses by looking at words that the Lord has been saying to you, scriptures that you have been studying, right? And just the way your prayer life has been going. So this calls us to reflect on our prayer life, reflect on our relationship with God so far, reflect on the things that have been happening, reflect on the things that we have been learning in the words of God, learning from God so far, reflect on where we are in our relationship right now. And when we reflect on that prayerfully, right, we will see different things that is very important for us to start focusing on. And when we see those things, we write them down, and then those things can be the focuses that we place on our prayer board, right? So that's what I did. And then the second thing I did was to get my prayer resources, right? Now, as I think I said it before in this video, that I like to use prayer methods in prayer. But if I didn't, well, I like to use prayer methods in prayer, and I write pre-written prayers, pre-written scriptural prayers for certain things. So in this section, I would put my prayer methods, I would put scriptures that have to do with the focuses, I would put pre-written prayers as well in this section, and I can also put the pre-written prayers in this section as well. But whatever resources that I use during my prayer life, whether it's methods, pre-written prayers, scriptures, etc., whatever resources that I use or that I want to use during this season of prayer that I am focused on these 4 focuses, I will put those prayer resources here. So for example, I have the I Am God's Disciple prayer method right here. And if you're interested in that prayer method, I have it in a book on Amazon. You can check it out. It's called The Prayer Lifestyle of God's Disciple Prayer Journal, and it features this same method right here. So that's a method that I enjoy using in my prayer life, and so I would put it here. And also my Psalm 51 prayer method, Complete Your Repentance Process. So this is all of Psalm 51 broken down into a prayer method, and so I place that here. And then this one is my Genesis 24 prayer method, right? And above these are words from Genesis 24, and then this is how Genesis 24 connects to my life, right? And so I use those resources in prayer, and so I would put it there. So every time I touch this prayer board, I see these resources, and so they are there when I need to use them, right? And so after I figure out my prayer focuses, the next thing I do is I figure out my prayer resources, and then I have my prayer resources ready so that when I make my prayer board, I can put those prayer resources within the prayer resources section like I did here. So after I have my prayer focuses written down and my prayer resources ready, the next thing that I do is I get the materials now to make my prayer board. Now, materials needed to make a prayer board is, number one, the board. So you can use an old calendar, you can use a cardboard box, you can use Bristol cardstock or any type of cardstock. Just make sure that the paper is thick enough to be able to stand up to certain things, right? Make sure that the paper is not flimsy or weak like normal typing sheets or normal cartridge paper can also be used, right? Yes. So you get whatever you're going to use as your board, and then you get what you want to use to decorate your board. And so that's up to you, however you want to decorate your board. What I chose to use was I had some old envelopes around the house, so that's what I tore up and used to decorate my board. And I used this old envelope and I glued it in a way that makes it into a pocket that I could put stuff in. And I did the same thing here. I glued these envelopes in a way that they became a pocket that I can put stuff in. In this case, I did not glue these ones as pockets because the prayer that I wanted to focus on was already there. So what I did was I glued it down as a background, and then I glued the prayers that I wanted to focus on top of the background. And then the only thing I glued as a pocket here was the section where I wanted to put my prayer resources. So when you're making your prayer board, get any color paper that you want, and you are free to glue them as a pocket or as a background that you paste things on, right? And so I'm just showing you. Other persons get actual envelopes and then they glue the envelopes to their board, and it's in the envelope that they put their prayers and their resources as they go about praying for their prayer focuses. You can do that as well. You can choose to not use any papers here, but to use other papers and glue your prayers and your focuses. And other persons put their focuses on their prayer board, so they would type it out, put it down on their prayer board, and then they use post-it notes to document their prayers, and so they would put the post-it notes underneath their focuses. However you want to do yours, whatever materials that you have, whatever materials that you like, feel free to get those and create your prayer board. I'm just giving you examples. If you don't have the materials that I have, I am sure that you can find materials that you like and be creative and create your own prayer board regarding what you want to focus on in prayer. So after you write down what you want to focus on in prayer, and after you get your prayer resources ready that you're going to use to help you to pray about those focuses and track your progress of praying about those focuses, then you're going to get your materials. And then after you get your materials that you're going to use to create your prayer board, then you are going to go on to creating your prayer board. And that's what I did, and this was what I came up with as my example. All right, so I plan to do another video to show you exactly how I created a prayer board like this, just to give you some more ideas, right? And so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something that even if you don't create a prayer board, I hope you learned something that you can use to take your prayer life to the next level. I was so happy, and I am still so happy to do this video for you and to share with you my fascination with prayer boards. I intend to make a prayer board for 2025. If you would like to join me, let me know in the comments below if that's something that you would like to do. Until next time, God bless you. Take care.